Change for us all. Is no restart.
Big move in Bitcoin then, in contrast to all the notes I wrote pre-show, which were telling me that this was going to put Bitcoin under pressure.
The narrative that perhaps this launch of these political meme coins will sap flows from Bitcoin is showing us that it's really not the case this morning. If anything, it's just accelerated the momentum and the excitement around cryptocurrency under another Trump administration.
Hi, Dewald. What is all this FOMO about? Should I buy Bitcoin now?
Are you smoking your socks? You should rather watch my show. You should rather watch my show.
All right, legends, are we holding our breath? Are we finally getting the dump here to the downside? Is there still hope for the bulls, or can we like to be breaking down over here? This trend, let's go to the 4-hour time frame, has finally been broken to the downside. Finally, it has been broken. You know, we've been saying nothing goes up in a straight line since the 7th of April. We have now broken this uptrend here to the downside, and I can just imagine how the shorts are starting to pile in over here. Is it over for the bulls? Are we going to see a deeper correction to the downside? Definitely, it's a possibility, right, legends? It's definitely a possibility. And right, let me know how you guys feel. Let me know in the comments, how do you feel? Do you think we are going to continue the momentum here to the downside? Are we finally breaking down? Or is this just a small little flush out, okay, for continuation back to the upside? Remember to smash up that like button right over there. If you don't know what a like button is, it's a little thumb that looks like this. You know, that's what you do. You take your mouse or your finger if you're watching on your phone, and the thumbs up, right? You press the thumbs up. Okay, right, legends, just having a little bit of fun. But I did see here on the smaller time frame. Okay, well, on the liquidity heat map, on the smaller time frame, you know, the 48-hour, we did grab some significant liquidity here to the downside. Okay, well, not a lot of liquidity, but we did dip into a liquidity pool. Okay, right, people are hitting the thumbs down. I'm not sure why people are hitting the thumbs down over here. We have dipped into liquidity here to the downside. Usually, when price hits a liquidity pool, you do get a reaction. The question is, okay, is this just going to form a smaller reaction and then continue the momentum here to the downside? Or is the bull trend still intact? Right, I'm not sure why people are hitting the thumbs down over here. Okay, anyways, legends, I just want to, you know, provide what I'm seeing here on the charts at the moment, pure technical analysis. I do see some local bearish CVD building up over here as price is trying to push back to the upside. There's a little bit of bearish CVD. Okay, let me just take, you can see, you know, against these highs that we've made, where price is at the moment, there's a lot of longs piling in here at the moment, but I only have one confirmation so far, only one confirmation. And I'm going to zoom in, legends. I'm going to keep the live stream. Let me just swing myself back here to the other side. Okay, right, there we go. Okay, I'm going to spend a little bit of time and just zoom into this little structure over here, but more this structure over here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing high time frame analysis. Okay, I want to zoom into this structure and see, well, you know, what are the probabilities? Is this just a fake out for continuation back to the upside? Okay, or is this the start of a deeper correction, or maybe a sideways corrective structure? Okay, right, legends, let's go here onto the 15-minute time frame. Okay, now you can see, okay, we have lost the bull flag now to the downside. We've lost it, right? We had the fake out to the upside. Who was here yesterday? Who paid attention in class yesterday? Right, legends, I was here on the 1 hour time frame yesterday. I'm not going to pull up the live stream, but for those of you that were in the live stream yesterday, do you remember what I spoke about over here? Okay, and it's not because I want to blow my horn, it's just technical analysis. When price was trading here last night during the live stream, I told everyone I'm not trading. I'm not in a trade, I don't trust it. We left a wick behind on the 1 hour time frame and we closed the body below the trend. I don't like it. I'm not getting into a trade. And usually, you know, without going into Elliott Wave theory and making it very complex over here, okay, I told everyone from a trading strategy perspective, when I see high volume and you leave a wick behind, the body closes below the trend, it usually comes to take the low. Well, there you have it. We took the low, finally, today. Right, legends, so that probability play out. So you guys can see how the probabilities play out in your favor if you lean towards probabilities. So yesterday when I explained this situation over here, I told everyone I have just seen this movie too many times. When I see this, I stay out of the market. Okay? I also said I'm interested in a long over here, right? We did get an initial bounce and then, you know, your position should have been protected. So maybe you took a little bit of profits to the upside and you got stopped out. We got another bounce and then we started consolidating sideways. But now we have new information. So there was a couple of scenarios that I shared with our Legends Pro community this morning. So I'm not sure, guys. Do you want me to share the bearish case scenario first? Or should we focus and give the bulls a little bit of hopium over here? Right, so where price is at the moment, I know it looks bad, okay? I see some local bearish CVD building up. But I could potentially still get in a trade with good risk management and protect my position. So if I'm wrong, I get stopped out and I only pay the trading fees. Maybe I make a little bit of profits as well. So if I'm wrong, I get stopped out with a little bit of profits in the bag. Okay, so legends, let me say hi to everyone that's just jumped in over here. I see we have 126 people here on the live stream. Hi, Elizabeth. Always great to see you here. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining the live stream. How about the 5-minute time frame? Yes, I can go into the 5-minute time frame. Hell, I can even go into the 15-second time frame if you want, right? If you want to scalp. I have actually traded the 15-second time frame live here on the live stream. Okay. I took the short 109,900 till today. Wow, absolute legend. I hope you've paid yourself here to the downside, leaving that, you know, moon bag open for lower levels. Right. I think it's just a correction. Okay, we're going to go and analyze the price in a moment. I think it's just a correction, right? Need to see some volume in the coming hours. Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm watching over here as well. We do have some selling pressure kicking in over here. Okay, but it's not enough. It's not significant yet. You know, you want to see some decent selling volume kicking in, right, to confirm momentum to the downside. Okay, so I'm going to, maybe what I'm going to do here first, legends. Right, let me say hi, Dewald. Biz, you guys have really funky usernames, some of you. Okay, welcome to the live stream, man. Kevin, this trend line under a loop by the whole crypto community, probably holla. Let's see if it's a fake out or a real correction. Well, I can just imagine the breakout traders, or the breakdown traders in this case, okay? I can just imagine what they're doing. They play the breakout, stop goes above the high, or maybe this consolidation area, and they are targeting much lower levels. So I cannot, for the love of me, be here on the live stream and just tell everyone short short, we going down. I just can't do that, right? I have to always look at the bullish and the bearish case scenario. So first, maybe to get the elephant out of the room, what is the highest probable scenario that I am currently watching? Okay, so let's maybe start with that. Right, and then we can go through the bearish case scenario, we can go through the super bullish case scenario, and the scenario that I am currently keeping an eye on. And this is a scenario that I highlighted to the Legends Pro community this morning as well. Okay, let's jump back onto the 15-minute time frame. And there we go. No, not this one. Is it this one? The bullish one. This was what I highlighted exactly. I didn't change anything. This morning when I woke up, this is what I told the Legends Pro community. One of the scenarios I'm keeping an eye on. I know it looks very complex, but let me simplify it and explain it to everyone. You could have a three-wave structure in a W, which you have to have, okay, an ABC, A, 5-wave A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and A. Okay, you have a three-wave structure in B, and you have another 5-wave structure to end your C. And that gives you a W. So what I'm trying to highlight over here is that since the top over here, we could still be busy with a larger corrective structure that still sends us higher. Okay, so just something to keep in mind, right? So if we are forming a W, X, ABC, three-wave structure in X, and now we have formed another A, B, C. Okay, I'm going to explain this local structure now, but basically a three-wave structure. It's a 5-3-5. It's a ABC. Okay, to the downside, to go and complete your Y wave. Right, I told the legends, because X, okay, when I take a fib from the high of the structure to the low of W, I drag it across. Okay, I have often spoken about this scenario. So for those of you that's paying attention in class, if your X wave, the high over here, does not tap the 786, you increase the probabilities that your Y can take the low of W. It can. It doesn't have to, but it can. If X tapped the 786, then you significantly reduce the probabilities that your Y is going to take the low of W. So if X tapped the 786, I would have said, okay, this is a great longing opportunity. High chance we're not going to claim that low and we're going to continue here back to the upside. But because X didn't tap the 786, it's perfectly normal for Y to take the low of W. But it's still a corrective structure. It's a W, X, Y. And then you can continue the bull trend to the upside. So it could potentially still be a fake out. Okay. Now, how do you trade this WXY? You might be asking me, okay? Dewald, how do you trade this WXY? What I also highlighted to the Legends Pro community this morning is that I wrote them this little message over here. I said, Legends, okay? Y can still extend and take the low of W. Basically what I've just explained over here, because we did not tap the 786. And Y loves to be a zigzag. So this Y wave, very common to be a 5. I know this is very technical. 3, 5. What does a 5-3-5 mean? It's basically an A, B, C. Okay, your A wave is a 5-wave structure. Your B wave is a 3-wave structure. Your C wave is a 5-wave structure. Okay, so when I zoom into this little structure, so let's just take the noise out of the chart. Okay, there's a chance that this is a 5-3-5 from this little pivot over here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a 3-wave corrective structure, and now you could potentially have another 1, 2 on the smaller time frames, 5-minute, 1-minute time frame. You could have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that is now completing here to the downside. So you have a 5, 3, 5, a zigzag. It's a double, it's a zigzag. It's a 5-3-5. And it's very common for Y wave to the downside. So how do you trade it, right? The simplest way to trade a WXY especially because your X didn't tap the 786. It has a chance, okay, it has a high chance that your Y actually needs to claim the low of W. It doesn't have to, but because X didn't tap the 786, it can. Okay, right, so legends, you take a trend-based fib from the high to the low to the high. There you go, right? Currently, we are dancing around the 0.618, which is the first target for Y wave. The juiciest target is the 786. And this is also what I told the Legends Pro community this morning. I would like the structure to fall a little bit, a little bit more down and actually claim W. I want it to claim W. Find support at the 786. You form a double bottom. Everyone thinks price is going to move down lower. It finds support, and guess what? It gets acceptance back inside the trend. It goes to claim the high. What if? You know, we have to play out this what if scenario, because this scenario has not been invalidated. And in actual fact, it still carries high probability. Okay, and this is the scenario that I currently think has the highest probability, because it just has to be said that this looks awfully corrective to me still at the moment. There is a bearish case scenario where we're just going to tank down, but there's a problem. There's a problem. Okay, in this structure, there's a problem, and I did speak about it last night. I told everyone I don't see price just collapsing to the downside because of this. There's a problem over here. So this still looks corrective to me, and it looks like it still has a chance to go and claim the high. Okay, right, legends, I know the market is here to surprise us, but yesterday we spoke about this little fake out, got the drop to the downside, and now we are at a very interesting zone where I am starting to be very interested, can you believe, in longs. Okay, because we're tapping some really juicy levels that I am paying attention to here to the downside. Okay, let me switch on some point of controls, daily levels, weekly levels. Let's just fill up the chart over here. Actually, we actually lost the weekly naked point of control, but I'm going to take it out. It's been invalidated. Okay, so where price is at the moment, okay, we have the 0.618 and a naked point of control. So you can see, and we also dipped into that small little liquidity pool that I highlighted, you know, over here. Small little liquidity pool. Let me... you guys can see there upstairs, right? We dipped into a small little liquidity pool, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that we have to get the bounce right now. We could still continue momentum to the downside. But what's noteworthy to point out is that price is currently getting a reaction at this level. That is what's important for me at the moment. Okay, because I might not get the level. We might front run it, because I have to acknowledge that the Y wave also has a 0.618 target. I do like this one the most. A little bit further down, you also have the 1-to-1 extension. And if things get really crazy to the downside, the Y wave can even go to the 1.236. I don't really want the Y wave to go down lower than that. Okay, because then it's something else. Okay, but you know, it's trying my best as a technical analyst to read the structure as it's forming here to the downside. Okay. Right, legends, so now, okay, now I've identified the levels, what I'm paying attention to. Okay, currently still getting the drop. I mean, if price had to stop here and it shoots back up, I will still enter this long, but I need price to be above my area of interest. At the moment, price is below my area of interest, and if I'm looking for a long, not interested in the trade at the moment. Not interested. Okay, so... same thing, if price continues to drop and grind here to the downside, same rule that I'm looking for over here, I will apply over here. Basically, a swing failure pattern from the low in confluence with the 786. Okay, so legends, let me explain why I do see a low probability for price just to nuke to $95,000 from where it is right now. And the reason why I still see this as a corrective structure. It's because of, let me just clean up the chart. Let me go to the 5-minute time frame. And now we look at this. Here is the problem that I see, okay? This little structure is the problem. To form impulses to the downside, it has to start with a 5-wave structure. If you form a three-wave structure and price continues to the downside, it's most likely still corrective, which means you're still going to take out the high. You know, this high, that high over there, the high that we formed here at let's say $112,000. Okay, and this is the problem that I see. Okay, technical analysis is never 100%, but this looks to me like a three-wave structure, not a five-wave structure. We formed a three-wave structure. I spoke about this yesterday as well. We came back up and then we started rolling back here to the downside. You cannot start an impulse to the downside with this. It has to be a five-wave structure. Maybe, you know, when you go onto the 15-second time frame and the smaller time frames, you could potentially count a five-wave structure in there. But what I like to do is focus on the larger 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute time frame. And if it looks like a three-wave structure, it smells like a three-wave structure, especially focusing on the larger time frames. Look at this. This looks three-wavy, doesn't look five-wavy. Okay, I acknowledge that we're getting the dump to the downside. All I'm trying to say is to start an impulse like this to the downside, for me, gives me probabilities that whatever is happening here to the downside is still corrective because of how it started. Okay. If this structure, I can, you know, guys, if this structure did this, if this structure did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and it took that low again, I would have played this breakout or breakdown. I would have put my stop above the high and I've said, okay, there we go, we're gonna fall, right? There we go. So this is basically the problem that I see over here, legends. So maybe on the smaller time frames there's a five-wave structure in there. So if we do continue to fall here to the downside, well, then it is what it is, right? Then I missed out on an epic short here to the downside, but I just don't see significant selling pressure kicking in here at the moment. Okay, I know we are breaking down, but it still looks like, you know, it's a little bit of a flush maybe, you know, to wipe out those high leverage traders. For now, that's what it looks like. So I'm gonna, guys, you know, just bear with me. I'm going to discuss the most bearish case scenario as well, where we could potentially be going down to, who knows, $94,000, $93,000. Okay. In case I have counted this completely incorrectly, but for me, for now, until invalidated, this is the highest probable scenario that I see at the moment that has the least amount of mistakes. You form a high, you form a larger corrective structure, and you still get continuation and go and claim the high. So there's a high chance that all of this is still corrective, even if it hits $103,000. Okay, but I don't really want price to go down lower than that. If price is going to start hitting the 1.618, it invalidates a WXY, and it's most probably the next bearish case scenario that I'm going to show over here. I know price is breaking down. People want to see bearish case scenarios. Finally, we're getting the correction. Okay, so then you are, let me see if I actually did prepare it and left it on the screen. Okay. This is also one bearish case scenario. Okay. You have formed an impulse to the downside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have a 5-wave structure that ended over there. It's not a 3-wave structure. And we are still part of a larger corrective structure that could still come and eat up this high over here. So this is not too bearish, but it's still bearish. Okay. If I, you know, now I'm applying the same rule in reverse. The difference with this structure versus the structure that I've just shown you is that you are starting an impulse to the downside. This is correcting the impulse, and it's gonna just tank to the downside after it makes this little high. But now I've got new information, and there's potentially something else that's happening over here. If I take a fib from this low, wait, let me just get my ducks in a row. Yeah, to the high, X. Okay, this little X wave over here, this one, tap the 786. Okay, so let me just take this flip out the way so it doesn't get confusing. Okay, so I'm measuring from this low to the high of W. Okay, so the low of W to the high of W. X tapped the 786, which significantly reduces the probabilities that your Y is going to take the high of W. So it needs to make a lower high. Okay, so maybe it comes, let's say it comes to retest this trend over here. It retests the scene of the crime. Okay, it finds support. It retests the scene of the crime and it continues momentum aggressively to the downside. Because if this scenario is going to play out, well then, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at a much deeper correction to the downside. Because this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and I mean this third wave can get very aggressive to the downside. So if I have to try and map this out based on the data that I have available right now, is you'll take your fib from the high to the low to wherever X is Y is going to end, but let's just take it from the tippy top. Okay, so at least you expect your third wave to tap the 0.618, you form your 4, oops, and you go down for your 5. So you're looking at more or less from a conservative perspective, you're looking at about $98,000. So this could get nasty here to the downside if this structure is indeed an impulse. Okay, but you guys can see I'm still looking for a bounce. So even in this bearish case scenario, also looking at the bullish case scenario, I'm still expecting a bounce because the structure is not finished. The corrective structure is not finished. You have a W, you have a X, where's Y? You don't have a Y yet. So I'm still looking for price to move back up, regardless of whether it continues here and then moves up. But now you can see that my bearish case and my bullish case scenario gives me directional bias in terms of there's a chance that we could get a bounce and I can take advantage of this long here to the upside. Right, so legends, now the most bearish case scenario. Okay, I don't think I have that one prepared, but the most bearish case scenario is basically we're done. We are done. Second wave is in. We have formed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inside of our first wave. This is an A, B, C, which ended over here. And now we are forming impulses back to the downside to go and finish the third wave. Okay, so it's going to start dropping aggressively. And I just have to discuss the scenario, but I have told everyone why the scenario for me carries low probability. The reason this scenario, because now I'm looking at leg 3 over here. Okay, this is why I told everyone there's a problem over there. Because if you're going to form a leg 3 over here and you're going to start tanking to the downside, volume needs to start kicking in, selling pressure needs to start kicking in, because third waves are extremely aggressive. They drop very hard with high volume, and it's not doing that at the moment. So from a volume perspective, it's not giving me the magic that I want to see for continuation here to the downside. Also, if you start an impulse, look at this. Wave 1 started with a 5-wave structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you zoom into the smaller time frames, you can even count the 5 waves inside of each wave as the one was forming here to the downside. So that one makes perfect sense. That one, tick, 100%. And like I've said, you know, guys, here on the 5-minute time frame, now you need to form a 5-wave structure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you have to form a 5-wave structure to start the impulse. And that looks like a damn 3-wave structure. So it's not the way you want to start an impulse to the downside. It doesn't look right. Okay, it's all just a game of probabilities at the end of the day. So I am, okay, and still leaning in the camp of the extreme bearish case scenario for me is definitely something to keep in the back of my mind. If price all of a sudden starts dropping aggressively here to the downside, well, then, you know, I'm going to start looking for longs in the zone. This is the zone where I'm going to start looking for longs. Okay, because each impulse has to correct itself and then it continues. So I want to take advantage of that move. Right. Based on my probabilities, I cannot enter a short here with my stop above the high. Based on what I'm seeing here and based on what I'm seeing here, I have to follow my rules. Just like yesterday, in yesterday's live stream, I told everyone why I'm not trading. And I told everyone there's a chance that we're going to take that low based on what I'm seeing over here. And we fell down. Well, not we, Bitcoin fell down, claimed the low. Right, so the structure to me, from a probability perspective, looks like this one. There's just way less mistakes, okay? So there's always something wrong. There's always something wrong with the structure, okay? But this structure has the least amount of mistakes. For me, for now, based on the data we have available, I think the bulls still have a chance. W, X, Y, even if it takes the low of W, doesn't matter. It's allowed to because X doesn't tap the 786. And what if this is a massive fake out? People are shorting like crazy maniacs saying that, you know, we finally broke the trend. We've been uptrending since the 7th of April and it's just a fake out, and it continues and it takes the high again and it smashes the $114,000 that I've been eyeing for very long now. Okay, I want that $114,000 area to be tapped. Right, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know in the comments. I just want to quickly zoom in here to the smaller time frame. Let's go to the 5 minute. Just want to see, well, what is cooking over here? A three-wave structure also has a target. I just want to see something. Okay, this, are we getting acceptance back above? Not yet. It's not back above my area of interest. Not yet. Not yet. Are we still forming bullish or bearish CVD? Let me refresh this. Just want to see, because I know that local bearish CVD that I pointed out during the beginning of the stream played out. Okay, this local bearish CVD played out because we took the low. Okay, but now it's forming more bearish CVD. So it looks like it's going to still continue a little bit more here to the downside. Chop, chop, chop to the downside until you see the sign of strength. Okay, still bearish CVD against this pivot. Can you guys see? This is how I keep an eye on CVD to spot, if you know, to spot some strength. Look at that pivot and where price is at the moment. Okay, you're still forming bearish CVD locally, which means the target is the low. So you could continue chopping to the downside, consistently building up bearish CVD until you see a sign of strength, or at least you do not see bearish CVD. Even if it stays neutral, for me, that's also a sign of strength. So the most interesting level for me to the downside is still the 786, $106,000, 433. I'm gonna, please guys, don't, you know, I don't want people to go and put in limit orders and liquidate their accounts, because I have explained the bearish case scenario as well. I'm really trying to stay as neutral as I possibly can. I'm trying to highlight to you the bullish case scenarios, and I'm trying to highlight to you the bearish case scenarios. Okay, and also the levels where I'm expecting the bounces based on both of those scenarios, the mistakes that I see inside of the structures, and based on the mistakes and looking at all the scenarios that could potentially play out over here, which one carries the highest probability. Okay, right, let's go through some comments. Thanks, Dewald. Great analysis. BTC boss. Absolute pleasure, man. I'm glad that, you know, 99% of you are enjoying the technical analysis. I'm not sure why people are giving me the thumbs down over here, right? People are obviously, you know, I don't know, biased towards a certain direction. And if you are bullish and I'm speaking about a bearish case scenario, you might not like it. And if I'm bearish and you are bullish, or vice versa, okay, I just have to stay neutral as a trader. Because I can tell you guys now, I can be bearish and bullish during the same day. Depending on what price action shows me, I can have a short or I can have a long. And often I will have a short and a long during the same day. Okay, so from a day trading perspective, you cannot have bias. You have to trade what price gives you at the end of the day. Right, thanks Dewald, great analysis. I think that Dewald is the type of guy to have the wife sit in the back for better weight. Right, love it, love it. Good evening, sir. The Rolling Walnut. Welcome, welcome. I think you're right. Too many people shorting. Well, yes, there's a lot of people shorting because of the Bearish CVD building up here. Okay, there's a lot of people. Well, this shows me people. I don't have to guess. This shows me that people are shorting like crazy over here, which tells me it's gonna keep on longing. Sorry guys, I'm mixing up my marbles. This shows me that people are aggressively longing, which means they're going to continuously getting stopped out until they give up. Okay, until they give up, and then price turns around, and then when they've given up, price finally turns around and it moves in the opposite direction. Okay, it's bearish CVD, which means people are longing. Okay, so it's going to continuously stop them out until the longs stop piling in. Okay. Right, Dewald, are you sure you are not the one of the hidden market makers? No, not today. Not today, right? Not today. Chili Hills, not today. Mercury is the planet of trading. The planet plays both teams. Yes, I mean, I'm not going to hop on that again. You know, me highlighting the bullish and the bearish case scenarios. Right, let's see what else. Inverted head and shoulder on Ethereum, 5-minute time frame. I don't necessarily want to jump into altcoins right now. I have noticed recently, as soon as I go into altcoins, people just leave the stream. People don't want to talk. For some reason, people don't want to talk about altcoins at the moment. Okay, so I want to talk about Bitcoin, where everyone, you know, is paying attention. We can do some nice little day trades over here. And, right, cool. So, what else? Right, legends, I think I have basically said what I wanted to say over here, okay? There really is not much to update based on these structures. I've given you guys the probabilities. I've told you where I'm leaning towards, which scenario carries the highest probability. Okay, I also want everyone to note that if I'm saying that a scenario carries the highest probability, okay, I'm not gonna just long like a crazy maniac over here, okay, and it's going to play out. I can still get into the trades with exceptionally good risk management. And if I'm wrong, so let's say, okay, price starts trading above my area of interest and I enter and price moves a little bit higher, okay, it means I can protect my position. And if I'm wrong, okay, because that's what we need to do, you need to protect your cash. And if I'm wrong, it's fine. I'm managing my risk, but I'm not going ape over here thinking that my scenario is definitely going to play out, because overconfidence in the market will humble you very quickly, okay? Very, very quickly. So even if I have a high probable scenario, I will still practice exceptionally good risk management. Okay. Right, legends. So for me, the level that I really like to the downside, regardless of how this is going to play out, is this area. This to me looks like the best bouncing zone. I would like to see a little bit of a double bottom. Okay, a little bit of a double bottom. It aligns with the 786. It aligns with a potential WXY structure target, where you have your impulse to the upside. You have an A, B, C, and a W. You have an A, B, C, and an X. And now you have your 3-wave structure that's forming here to the downside to complete your Y wave, which means that all of this is potentially still corrective. I have my zone where I'm paying attention, and right, also, okay, and like I say, guys, you might be, you know, I have heard, or I have gotten the question, people saying, Dewald, but you're highlighting the 786, you're highlighting the 1-to-1 extension, you're highlighting the 1.236, okay, because I can have an attempt over here, I can have an attempt over here. It's about how I manage my trade and how I manage my risk. Okay, because I can tell you, let's say I get stopped out with a loss over here, and I get stopped out with a loss over here, and eventually when it hits the 1.236, okay, does this, and eventually when it hits this level and I have another attempt after being stopped out twice and price decides to then turn around, this move pays back these two stop losses plus way more money in the bag. Okay. Just depends on how you manage your risk. Obviously, if I'm going to go in with my entire account at 100x leverage, okay, I'm going to have almost nothing left here. And by the time price gets here, okay, it's basically just recovered the losses. And then there's no profits in the bag. And that's why it's important to, you know, manage your position size as well. Okay, right. Let's go. Your TA is exactly as it should be, considering both sides. Thank you, Tolimanu. Mercury smiles. Yeah, I mean, when I see YouTube influencers only leaning towards one side, it really concerns me, because if you have a community of thousands of people, you know, guys, and I'm not seeing this from small YouTube influencers, I'm seeing this from big YouTube influencers. If you are leaning only towards one side and you make your entire community believe that it's now or never, it's going to break up, it's going, okay, I think you're costing your community so many losses and liquidations that, you know, you're going to start creating hate for yourself. A lot of hate, where people are going to lose trust in your technical analysis, your trading ability. Okay, for me, I have to always, you know, play devil's advocate with myself in terms of, okay, I see a high probability, but what if? Okay, I see the bearish case scenario. What is wrong with the bearish case scenario? Okay, what is, you know, good about the bullish? I have to look at it from all angles and then trade the highest probable scenario, but also keeping in mind that I could be wrong and then the bearish case scenario plays out. And if the bearish case scenario plays out, where's my levels? Okay, do I have a trading plan down here? Do I have a trading plan down here? If price just says wham and it falls here to the downside, do I have a plan, or am I going to sit in shock and say, fuck, what happened? Okay, so I need to cater for all scenarios and have a plan at each level. That is your job as a trader. You have to have a plan, okay, at each level, because you don't know what price is going to do. But if you have a plan at each level and you can execute those trades and you know where to take profits, that's the name of the game at the end of the day. Dewald advocate. It just came from the apiary to smash that like button. Junior, welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay. I like the words. Overconfidence in the market will humble you quickly. Yes, it does. It does. Right. Legends, it's happened to me, and I'm sure it has happened to you as well. I mean, when I started out, you know, you know, it's happened to me a couple of times where I analyzed the chart and I was like, damn, son, it's only going this way. And you over leverage that trade, okay? You're so confident you don't even want to put a stop loss, right? And then price turns against you very, very badly, very quickly. And then you're like, what happened? What happened? Okay. So it doesn't matter how good your technical analysis is. If you cannot manage your position and your risk, and if you don't know where to take profits, you're going to struggle. I don't care how good of an analyst you are. I really don't care. If you cannot manage your trade, if you cannot manage your risk, okay, you're going to struggle. Right. Cool, legends. Oh, FOMC. I didn't actually look at that. Oh, sorry, I needed to swipe. Let's swipe. Let's have a quick look. No, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Let me do this. Let's try this again, legends. Let's try this again. Economic calendar, not trading journal. Okay. Let's see. 8 o'clock. No, Wednesday, 8 o'clock. What's the time now? Oh, it's still far away. It's 2.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Still 2.5 hours. Yeah, legends, I don't know if I'm going to be still live during that time, right? It's still a little bit further away. So let's see how this plays out. It could be really bullish, could be really bearish. I don't trade fundamentals, I trade technicals. Because technicals to me always supersedes fundamentals. Okay, for example, how many times, well, I have seen many times where I have a trading plan at these levels. Okay, something happens in the world, news pushes the price down. You know, and I'm not paying attention to the news, and this happens, for example. Okay, or this happens, for example. Then people are going to say, yeah, it was this news event or the Fed press conference that did this. And I'm going to say, well, I just traded my level. That's all I did. From a technical perspective, I was expecting price to still hit one of these levels. Okay. Right. It's the news that will drive it to the level where I'm interested, to long or short. Okay. But if I do know that there is high impact news coming out, I do tend to stay out of the markets because it creates those, you know, volatility to the up and to the downside, stops you out, and then it turns around and then comes back down. So I do try, especially when it's the interest rate decisions and things like that, you know, I try to stay out of the market. I don't like to be in a trade unless I already have a protected position. I don't mind just riding it out. Okay. Right, legends, remember down in the description, okay, also your way to support the channel. But these are the best deals that these exchanges has to offer. First link down in the description is Weeks, where you get that $100 for free, and also 20% cash back on the money that you deposit in your features account. They've got a lot of rewards running here at the moment. All you need is an email and a password, and to sign up and start trading with Weeks. I've also got Bluffin. Okay, 15% cash back on the money that you deposit in your features account. Absolutely amazing. And then the more you trade, the more money they drop back into your account as well. So it's like mana raining from the skies when you trade on Bluffin. Right, what else, legends? I think I have basically said what I wanted to say over here. Let's see. Let's go through some smoke the like, legends. Yes. Okay. Dewald, let's smoke our socks together live with FOMC. Right, no, Jack, I don't know if I'll be able to stay on the live stream. I did a lot of work today, okay, putting the training course together. I would like to share a little bit of a teaser, but I don't have it ready here at the moment where I would like to share a teaser, but yeah, I'm going to just, you know, hang on at the moment. But I am very busy during the day, recording my crypto course that will have everything that you need to know to become a successful trader. Okay, everything, you know, you guys think that I share a lot of education here on this channel. Okay, wait until you see that course. Okay, and the one thing that I'm also going to do with that course that I'm busy developing at the moment is it's going to be a living, breathing course. And what do I mean by that? So let's say there's 20 modules in the course. Maybe next month there'll be 12. The next month after that there'll be 15. So as I analyze and grow and mature, even myself as a trader, because I don't pretend that I know everything, and I'm still learning different strategies and stuff that I have not even discussed here on this YouTube live stream. I'm testing out, back testing different types of strategies and stuff like that. As soon as I start nailing them down and mastering them, I make a course, I include it in the video. Okay, so it's going to be a course that will forever be growing and expanding. Okay. Right. Still getting the reaction at the 0.618. Just want to see what is, are we seeing, don't like this. Okay, I don't like this. Right. This, I mean, for the pro members most probably know exactly what I'm looking at over here. Okay, I don't like this. I don't like this. This shows me a lot of longs are piling in at the moment, and it screams for this low to be taken again. Okay. Sometimes, I must admit, sometimes I do not pay attention to CVD because it is an indicator that's 74% accurate. So what about the other times when it's not accurate? Okay. Often what I will do is, let's say, okay, let's ignore CVD at the moment. And often what I will do is, let's say price starts trading above my area of interest. Sometimes I will ignore CVD, but what I will do is I will enter with a smaller position because now I have a tick box that's unchecked. Okay, stop goes below the low. If price moves in my favor, okay, I can protect position. But I will go in with less capital. But I will still take the trade, even if I see weakness in CVD. Okay, because I acknowledge that it's 74% accurate. So what about the other times when it invalidates itself? Because it is an indicator at the end of the day, and there's no 100% indicator. Doesn't exist. 100% indicator doesn't exist. Okay, right. Oops. It is currently trading above my area of interest. That's interesting. It's trading above my area of interest. I don't like the CVD. It's bearish as hell. It looks like it still wants to come and claim this low. So often what I will do is I will enter a small little position, okay, like with half of the capital that I usually go in with, and I will still give it the benefit of the doubt. But also because of the bearish CVD, I will be way more aggressive with profit taking to the upside. Okay, if I saw a sign of strength, then I might leave a little bit of a bigger position open for higher levels. Right, remember to smash up that like button, legends, for the education, for the alpha over here. Okay, the alpha in a course, legends. Yes, step for one, Dewald, are we getting a little bit support on the local time frame? Yes, I mean, we have dipped, you know, so let's look at the bullish signs. Okay, we have bearish signs over here from a CVD perspective. Bullish signs is we have dipped into a liquidity pool. Sorry guys, it's here above my head, but usually when you dip into a liquidity pool, you do get a reaction. Another bullish sign for now is it looks like it wants to start trading above the 0.618. The 0.618 is regardless of how you count. Okay, where's my brush? My brush ran away. Where's my brush? There we go. Regardless of how you count, this three-wave structure, whether it's an ABC, whether it's a W, it doesn't matter how you count the structure. These levels are three-wave structure targets. So it is currently consolidating at a three-wave structure target. I don't necessarily like this target because it is a rare target. I like the 786 and especially the one-to-one extension the most. This one, the most. It's the best one. Okay. Little bit more common, the best one. Okay, especially if this is a WXY. But anyways, we are getting the reaction. Right, legends, but I'm not going to attempt the long right now. I'm not convinced just as yet. I'm really not convinced just as yet. Okay, but can you get the bounce? Yes. So usually what I do is when I see, let me just take the comment here out the way. When I see weakness, like I've explained, when I see weakness, okay, but price is trading above my area of interest. Okay, so let's say you enter. I'm not going to take this trade, just FYI, right? Let's say you enter over here. Stop goes above the low, right? Then, you know, I will zoom into the smaller time frames over here and look at the structure. These this consolidation area, for example, over here, these consolidation, this little, you know, as price moves in my favor, I just TP out of my position, I mean, until you start hitting the major resistance over here. And by the time you get here, I just want to be out because I can just imagine the bearish CVD that's going to build up over here between those two pivots. Okay. And then you claim the low again. So it doesn't necessarily mean that bearish CVD is forming now that price has to turn down right now. It can still go up and then claim the lows, and there's just more aggressive bearish CVD building up. Okay, but based on the weakness, if I had to take this trade, I will just be aggressive with profit taking to the upside. Can it rock and roll? Of course. Okay, there's always that possibility. I just don't like the weakness. There's too many people longing at the moment. Retail. There's too much retail longing at the moment. This shows me retail is aggressively longing this zone. I don't want to trade with retail. I want to trade with smart money. So, and even if it does what I wanted it to do, any case, it's fine. I know that there's another trade around the corner. Right. So I mean, if it had to move up over here, and then it falls down, claims the low, and then it comes to this level, and I see some strength on CVD. Now that becomes interesting to me. Okay, even if there's no strength, but at least not bearish CVD. It just needs to at least stay neutral. Dr. MC, Dewald, how many trades do you take each day? I average at least one trade a day. When I say at least, okay, I'm lying. Sometimes I only take 3 trades a week. Mostly I take 1 trade a day, and then some good days I will have 2 or even 3 trades in the day. It depends on what the market gives me. It depends on whether it agrees with my technical analysis and whether it is, you know, a good trading day. You know, you get volatility because, you know, I mean, how do you trade this, right? How do you trade that? It's just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. The best trade in this zone over here was a trade that one of our coaches highlighted this morning, is to say that, well, this looks like a 5-wave, 1, 2, 3, one, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were looking for this low to be swept. That to me was the only trade for today. Okay. And if you did take this trade, your position should have been protected. Always when you start hitting highs, that's a profit taking area, TP1 at least. Let's see where the VWAP is. Oh, right. I mean, VWAP is always a TP1 area. It might look like small moves, okay, but if you are playing with the right amount of leverage, the right amount of capital, you can make insane gains with these small little moves. Anyways, guys, it did hit TP1. I think we expected price to move higher because this looks like a 5-wave structure to the downside. You get an ABC, so we at least expected price to come up a little bit higher. But even if you did not take profits, your position should have been protected if you participated in this trade. The pro members know this, okay? And then you should have been stopped out with no loss. So we can have multiple attempts and not lose money, because it's not about always being right. It's about managing your risk. It's not about being right. It's about managing your risk. Okay. Right. So, Dr. MC, let's just say I average a trade a day, but I do not trade on weekends, or I try not to. 99% of Saturdays and Sundays, I don't trade. I need to reset my brain. I want to spend time with family, with my daughter, do other things. I do not trade on especially a Saturday. Okay, according to data, statistically, 79% of the time on Saturdays, you get this. You get boring price action. It's not worth for me to try and trade this, okay? I used to, when I started out, just like many people, I used to just stare at the chart and trade every single goddamn day, thinking that, you know, the more you trade, the more money you're going to make. And the irony is that I make more money now by trading less than I used to make by trying to trade more. I can tell you now that if you are a type of trader that are entering 20 positions every single day or 5 positions every single day, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are making more money than a trader that only takes one trade a week. Because in that one trade that trader takes in a week, you might be playing a 20% move or a 15% move, okay? He was patient and he waited for the best possible setup that fits all of his criteria. So the planets needs to align for that one specific trade that he's waiting for the whole week. He takes that one trade and he can make way more money than someone else taking 10 trades in a day. Because remember, the more you trade, the more you expose your portfolio to risk. The less you trade, the less you expose your portfolio to risk. Because no trade is also a trade at the end of the day. Okay. Great analysis, general knowledge. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. I see major support at 104. Looks like we got rejected by the golden box where we were in. Golden box? Are you talking about this golden box? Rejected? Okay, I'm not sure which time frame. Sorry, guys. Sometimes I get confused. People are highlighting a level, and I don't know which time frame you are referring to. Okay, so if I look at it from this structural perspective, yes, you got a rejection in the golden pocket. Okay, from this high to the, from this high low to the high. No, it must be the other way around. Anyways, guys, right, legends. I think this is it. There's not really much more to talk about in terms of the structure. Okay? We have the bullish case scenario. We have the bearish case scenario. I've spoken about all the scenarios that I'm currently looking at. I have my trading plan at the bottom. Okay? It is, you know, and I'm going to set my alarms after this live stream. and you know, I will be doing other things, and when my alarm goes off, I will come and pay attention to the chart and see what's cooking here inside of the structure. Oh, something else I wanted to quickly do, okay, is I want to measure this this internal three-wave structure. I want to measure this structure. This is now very interesting to me. Now the question is, okay, let me take it from this high to the low. To the high. Yeah, this is not a pretty structure. You actually don't know which pivots to use over here. Okay, but you can also see that you are getting a reaction at the 786. Okay, you're getting the reaction at the 786. You got the 1-to-1 at the bottom. You got the 1.236 aligning with the 7. Okay, it's not a beautiful fit pool. Okay, I just wanted to see it for shits and giggles, but it doesn't really make sense because three-wave structures also have targets. This three-wave structure also has a target, but it's a bit confusing because it has this pivot and it has this pivot, right? So that could be a three-wave structure. This could be, I don't know, it's just very confusing, right? This three-wave here to the downside tells me, from a probability perspective, that whatever is happening here is still corrective. I could be wrong. Maybe on the smaller time frames, there's a 5-wave structure in there. And this is why, you know, we trade with stop losses at the end of the day. There is some weakness on CVD at the moment, which I don't like, which tells me even with upwards momentum, there's still a high chance, according to CVD, that you're going to come and take this low. Right, could you please send me a CVD script? Mustaine, if you would like the CVD script that I'm using with the 3 lines over here, you have to go down in the description and join our Legends community. We have a paid section, we have a free section, so by all means you can go into the free section and one of the mods will share the script with you inside of the chat section. You don't have to be a paid member. You know, it's a free tool, so there's a script, you can use it, right? I'm not going to charge anyone for that. Okay. Right, Legends, I have unfortunately run out of time. Not much else to say here on the price of Bitcoin. I've gone through all the scenarios which I think I see here in this local structure at the moment. And right, have yourselves a great evening. Until the next one, cheers for now.